great poets.
But we'll tell you about that in a minute.
First, let us introduce a great musician, Scott Joplin.
You've been listening to his great music, The Entertainer.
And the Maple Leaf Rag.
Scott Joplin was an American composer and pianist, known as the King of Ragtime.
And now, with Joplin's Pineapple Rag, we get to introduce to you the great poets. The 6th graders are all jazzed up by
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow,
Shel Silverstein.
and Eugene Field. The 5th graders are all jazzed up by
Robert Louis Stevenson,
Eleanor Farjan.
The 7th graders are all jazzed up by
Robert Frost,
Robert Service.
And now for the 8th graders.
Langston Hughes,
Joy Harjo.
Naomi, she had 9.
Rita Dove.
Francisco S. Alarcon.
Mary Ann Hoberman.
Give it up for our 5th through 8th graders. Now we present to you great poets and all that jazz.
Tonight, the 5th grade class will present to you the great poets, Eleanor Farjan and Robert Louis Stevenson.
Eleanor Farjan, born in 1881, loved to read and spent many joyful hours in the attic of her house. She loved to read and spin. She won many literary awards, and the Eleanor Farjan Award for Children's Literature is presented to her annually in her memory. Robert Louis Stevenson was born in 1850 in Scotland. His poetry is beautiful in its simplicity and childlike point of view. Stevenson takes us back to our youngest years and the wonder and delight of the imagination.
Our first poem, Poetry, by Eleanor Farjan, helps us understand the beauty and depth of poetry.
What is poetry? Who knows?
Not a rose, but the scent of a rose. Not the sky, but the light in the sky.
Not the fly, but the gleam of the fly.
Not the sea, but the sound of the sea. Not myself, but what makes me see, hear, and feel something that prose cannot.
And what it is, who knows?
Our presentation takes children through a day from morning until evening.
Blow the stars home, wind blow the stars home. Ere morning drowns them in golden foam.
The sounds in the morning go all down the street.
The tapping of sticks and the patter of feet.
The wind in the plane trees that whispers and rustles.
The pigeons all sleepy, the newsboys all hustle. The clippity clop and the clip
buckets, the sorts without space.
And sometimes the mooing of slow-moving cows
brings the smell of the lowlands to me as I drowse.
and sometimes the bleating and scuffle of sheep.
Draws down the hilltops to me half asleep.
Dogs barking, bells chiming, the twitter of sparrows.
Till the sun through the slats of my blind shoots his arrows.
In the world of my ear, it seems to dwindle in size.
As I jump out of bed to the world of my eyes.
Oh, I have just had such a lovely dream. And then I woke, and all the dream went out like kettle steam or chimney smoke.
My dream was all about. Oh, how funny though. I've only just dreamed it. Now it has begun to blow away like dust.
In it, I went. No, in my dream I had. No, that's not it. I can't remember. Oh, it is too bad, my dream of it. But I saw something beautiful, I'm sure. And then someone spoke. And then I didn't see it anymore.
Because I woke.
Up with you, lazy bones! Over the brink. Don't stop to pick up heart.
Don't stop to think.
Don't stop for anything. Jump out of bed.
Gather your garments.
Wherever they're shed.
The chair has your stocking.
The table, your vest. Your shoes in the fender.
Your shoes on the chest.
Your belt's on the doorknob and you are in bed.
Wake yourself. Shake yourself. Up, sleepyhead. Is it coffee for breakfast?
I wish it was tea.
Is it jam?
Why can't there be honey for me?
Is it brown bread and butter?
I wish it was toast.
Is it just bread and milk?
I like porridge the most.
Is it soft-boiled eggs? Brother!
I'd rather have fried. You know, I don't like soft-boiled eggs, though. I tried.
Oh, horrid breakfast. This breakfast the word.
Who tumbled out of his bed wrong leg first?
The
Questions they ask. It's a terrible task to answer them right.
Although you are quite sure you know what to say, when the questions are set, as soon as you ask them, you seem to forget.
Who was Francis Drake?
And where do they make the very best knives?
Who were the 6 wives of Henry VIII?
What are mites and cheese?
And what is the French for some more, if you please?
Where is Timbuktu?
What did Nero do?
What more is in Devon?
What's 5 and 11?
And who was the first man to reach the North Pole?
And what was the coal mine before it was coal?
Sometimes I say it right away. Other times, oh, I just sort of know.
But most of the time when the questions are set,
As soon as I'm asked them, I seem to forget.
Sometimes I'm sorry. Sometimes, yes, sometimes I'm bored.
It may be because I'm an idiot. It may be because I'm floored.
It may be because it's raining, or it may be because it's hot.
It may be because I have eaten too much, or because I have not.
But sometimes I just can't help yawning. I'm sorry, yawning the whole morning through.
And when teacher's turning her back on us, it may be that she's yawning too.
All schools have rules,
even those without them,
it's the rule of those schools to have no rules.
that's all there is about them. Which will you have, a ball or a cake? A cake is so nice. Yes, that's what I'll take.
Which will you have, a cake or a cat? A cat is so soft, I think I'll take that. Which will you have, a cat or a rose? A rose is so sweet, I'll have that, I suppose.
Which would you have, a rose or a book? A book full of pictures? Oh, do let me look.
Summer fading, winter comes,
Frosty mornings.
Tingling thumbs.
Window robins.
winter rooks,
And the picture storybooks.
Water now is turned to stone.
nurse and I can walk upon
Still we find the flowing brooks
in the picture storybooks.
All the pretty things put by.
Wait upon the children's eye.
Sheep and shepherds, trees and crooks,
In the picture storybooks.
we may see how all things are,
Seas and cities near and far.
and the flying fairies looks
In the picture storybooks. How am I to sing your praise?
Happy chimney corner days.
sitting safe in nursery nooks.
Reading picture storybooks.
Worlds of wonder are our books. As one opens them and looks, new ideas and people rise in our fancies and our eyes.
The room we sit in melts away as we find ourselves at play with someone who, before the end, may become our chosen friend.
Or we sail along the page to some other land or age. Here's our body in the chair, but our mind is over there. Each book is a magic box with which one touch a child unlocks. In between their outside covers, books hold all things for their lovers.
So many ideas of things to do,
Of places to go.
of people to meet. There isn't time to do the things I want to do. With all the mountaintops to climb, and all the woods to wander through, and all the seas to sail upon, and everywhere there is to go.
And all the people, everyone who lives upon earth to know.
To know a few, and do a few, and then sit down
And make a rhyme.
about the rest I want to do.
How do you like to go up in the swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it the pleasantest thing ever a child can do.
Up in the air and over the wall, till I can see so wide. Rivers and trees and cattle and all, over the countryside.
Till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. Let's take the train to the seaside.
I love train rides.
Yay!
All aboard! Faster than ferries,
Faster than witches.
bridges and houses,
Hedges and dishes. And charging along like troops in a battle.
All through the meadow the horses and cattle. All of the sights of the hill and the plain.
fly as thick as riding rain.
And ever again in the wink of an eye.
Painted stations whistle by.
Here's a child who clambers and scrambles.
All by himself and gathering brambles.
Here's a tramp who stands and gazes.
And there is the green for stringing the daisies.
Here's a cart run away in the road,
Lumping along with man and load.
Here is a mill.
and there is a river.
Each a glimpse and gone forever. When I was down beside
beside the sea, a wooden spade they gave to me to dig the sandy shore. My hole was empty, like a cup, in every hole the sea came up, till it could come no more.
Let's go fishing.
Yeah, let's go fishing!
Yeah, let's go.
Seven black friars sitting back to back. Fish for a bridge, for a pike or a jack. The first caught a tiddler.
The second caught a crab. The third caught a winkle.
The fourth caught a dab. The fifth caught a tadpole.
And the sixth caught an eel.
And the seventh one caught an old cartwheel.
When the heat of the summer made drowsy the land, a dragonfly came and sat on my hand.
With its blue-jointed body and wings like spun glass, it lit on my fingers as though they were grass. Let me fetch sticks, let me fetch stones, throw me your bones, teach me your tricks.
When you go run, let me go run. You in the sun, me at your side.
When you go swim, let me go too. We're both lost in blue, up to the brim. Let me do this, let me do that. What you are at, that is my bliss.
My shadow. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me. And what could be the use of him is more than I can see.
He is very, very like me, from the heels up to the head. And I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed.
The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow.
For he sometimes shoots up taller, like an India rubber ball. And he sometimes gets a little, there's none of him at all.
He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way.
He sticks so close beside me. He's a coward, you can see. I think shame to stick to Nursey as that shadow sticks to me.
One morning very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup.
My lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepyhead, and stayed at home behind me, fast asleep in bed.
When I am grown to man's estate, I shall be very proud and great, and tell the other girls and boys not to meddle with my toys. Aww. I quarreled with my brother. I don't know what about.
One thing led to another, and somehow we fell out.
The start of it was slight.
The end of it was strong.
He said he was right, but I knew he was wrong.
We hated one another. The afternoon turned black.
Then suddenly, my brother thumped me on the back and said,
Oh, come on. We can't go on all night. I was in the wrong.
so he was in the right.
Chatterer!
Scatter her!
Woof, woof.
Treat her wrong! Get her!
Whiskery spinner.
Catch her!
Green-eyed scratcher,
Slattery!
Slithery.
Hits her!
don't miss her. Run till you're dithery.
Hithery!
How she sits,
Spitch, spat!
Catchy scratch.
Scritching the bark.
of the sycamore tree.
She's reached her arc!
Him's hissing at me.
Woof, woof.
Scat! Cat!
That's that.
Whenever the moon and stars are whenever the wind is high, all night long in the dark and wet,
a man goes riding by.
Late in the night when the fires are out,
Why does he gallop and gallop about? Whenever the trees are crying aloud and ships are tossed at sea,
by on the highway, low and loud.
by at the gallop goes he, by at the gallop he goes, and then by he comes back at the gallop again.
The moon has a face like the clock in the hall.
She shines on thieves on the garden wall, on streets and fields and harbor keys, and birdies asleep in the forks of the tree.
The squalling cat and the squeaking mouse, the howling dog by the door of the house, the bat that lies in bed at noon, all love to be out by the light of the moon. But all of the things that belong to the day cuddle to sleep to be out of her way, and flowers and children close their eyes till up in the morning the sun shall arise.
Can't I just finish the castle I'm building here on the floor? Can't I just finish the story I'm reading here in my book?
Can't I just finish this bead chain? It's almost as finished. Look! Can't I just finish this game, please?
When a game's once begun, it's a pity never to find out whether you've lost or won.
Can't I just stay 5 minutes more?
Can't I stay just 4? 3 minutes then? 2 minutes?
Can't I say 1 minute more? The sounds in the evening go all through the house.
The click of the clock and the pick of the mouse.
The wind in the plane trees that whispers and rustles.
The skirts of my mother that brush by the door.
The creak in the boards
And the creak of the chairs.
The fluttering murmurs outside on the stairs.
The ring of the bell.
The arrival of guests. The laugh of my father at one of his jests.
The clashing of dishes as dinner goes in.
The babble of voices that distance makes thin.
The mewing of cats that seem just by my ear.
The hooting of owls that can never seem near.
The queer little noises that no one explains.
Till the moon through the slats of my window blind rains.
And the world of my eyes, my ears melt like steam.
As I find my pillow, the world of my dreams. Dog and the calico cat, side by side on the table sat. 'Twas 12:30, and what d'ya think? Nor one nor t'other had slept a wink. The old Dutch clock and the Chinese plate appeared to know as the gingham dog went bow wow wow, and the calico cat replied meow. The air was littered an hour or so with bits of gingham and calico, while the old Dutch clock in the chimney played up with his hands before his face, for it always dreaded a family row. Now mind, I'm only telling you what the old Dutch clock declares is true. The Chinese plate looked very blue and wailed, "Oh dear, what shall we do?" But the gingham dog and the calico cat wallowed this way and tumbled that, employing every tooth and claw in the awfulest way you ever saw. And oh, how the gingham and calico flew! Don't fancy I exaggerate. I got my news from the the Chinese plate. Next morning, where the two had sat, they found no trace of dog or cat. And some folks think unto this day that burglars stole that pair away.
But the truth about the cat and pup is this: they ate each other up.
Now what do you really think of that? The old Dutch clock, it told me so, and that is how I came to know.
The first poem we performed was written by the great poet Eugene Field. As you can tell, Field had a light-hearted and humorous style. His love of pranks and flippant sense of humor made him popular, especially since the pranks were without intent to harm and the basis of much fun.
Our second great poet is Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Longfellow's poems are filled with joyous spirit and idealistic hopes for mankind. We begin with The Blacksmith, which expresses the idea that as we grow mature, our character is developed if we faithfully and steadily apply ourselves to the lessons of life.
We will end our Longfellow's lessons with Excelsior, which means even higher in Latin. This poem expresses that there is honor when we strive even higher, holding true to a set purpose or goal, no matter the price.
Under a spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy stands.
The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands.
And the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands.
His hair is crisp and black and long. His face is like the tan.
His brow is wet with honest sweat. He earns whate'er he can, and looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. Week in, week out,
From morn till night,
You can hear his bellows blow. You can hear him swing his heavy sledge
with measured beat and slow.
like a sexton ringing the village bell.
when the evening sun is low.
And children coming home from school look in at the open door.
They love to see the flaming forge and hear the bellows roar, and catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor.
He goes on Sunday to the church and sits among his boys.
He hears the parson pray and preach. He hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir, and it makes his heart rejoice. It sounds to me like her mother's voice, singing in paradise.
He needs must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies.
And with his hard, rough hand he wipes a tear out of his eyes.
Toiling,
Rejoicing, sorrowing, onward through life he goes.
each morning sees some task begin.
Each evening sees it close.
Something attempted, something done,
Has earned a night's repose.
Thanks to thee, my worthy friend, for the lesson thou hast taught.
Thus, at the flaming forge of life, our fortunes must be wrought.
Thus, on its sounding anvil, shaped each burning deed and thought.
It is the harvest moon on gilded vanes and roofs of villages, on woodland crests in their aerial neighborhoods of nests deserted, on the curtained window panes of rooms where children sleep.
On country lanes and harvest fields, its mystic splendor rests.
Gone are the birds that were our summer guests.
With the last sheaves return the laboring wains.
All things are symbols. The external shows of nature have their image in the mind.
As flowers and fruits and falling of the leaves,
The songbirds leave us at summer's close,
Only the empty nests are left behind.
and pipings of the quail among the sheaves.
the tide rises.
The tide rises, the tide falls.
The twilight darkens, the curlew calls.
Along the sea sands damp and brown.
The traveler hastens towards the town.
And the tide rises, the tide falls.
Darkness settles on roofs and walls. But the sea in darkness calls.
The little waves with their soft white hands
efface the footprints in the sand.
And the tide rises, the tide falls.
The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but never more. Returns the traveler to the shore. And the tide rises, the tide falls.
out of the bosom of the air, out of the cloud folds of her garment shaken.
Over the woodlands, brown and bare, over the harvest fields forsaken.
Silent and soft and slow, descends the snow.
Even as our cloudy fancies take suddenly shape in some divine expression.
Even as the troubled heart doth make in the white countenance confession.
The troubled sky reveals the grief it feels.
This is the poem of the air, slowly in silent syllables recorded.
This is the secret of despair, long in its cloudy bosom hoarded, now whispered and revealed to wood and field.
The day is done,
And the darkness falls from the wings of night.
As a feather is wafted downward
From an eagle in his flight.
I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me
That my soul cannot resist.
a feeling of sadness and longing.
It is not akin to pain.
It resembles sorrow only.
As the mist resembles the rain.
Come, read to me some poem,
Some simple and heartfelt way,
that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of day.
Not from the grand old masters,
Not from the bards sublime, whose distant footsteps echo
through the corridors of time.
For, like strains of martial music,
Their mighty thoughts suggest.
life's endless toil and endeavor,
And tonight I long for rest.
read from some humbler poet,
whose songs gush from his heart as showers from the clouds of summer,
Or tears from the eyelids start.
who from long days of labor
and nights devoid of ease,
Still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies.
such songs have power to quiet
the restless pulse of care
and come like the benediction.
that follows after prayer,
Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice,
and lend to the rhyme of the poet
the beauty of thy voice.
And the night shall be filled with music.
I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where.
for so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight.
I breathed a song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where.
For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song?
Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unbroke.
And the song from beginning to end I found again in the heart of a friend.
The shades of night were falling fast as through the alpine village passed a youth who bore mid snow and ice a banner with that strange device.
Excelsior!
His brow was sad, his eye beneath flashed like a falchion from its sheath, and like a silver clarion rung the accents of that unknown tongue.
Excelsior!
In happy homes he saw the light of household fires gleam warm and bright. Above the spectral glacier shone, and from his lips escaped a groan.
Excelsior!
Try not the past, the old man said. Dark lowers the tempest overhead. The roaring torrent is deep and wide.
And loud that clarion voice replied,
Excelsior!
"Oh, stay," the maiden said, "and rest thy weary head upon this breast."
A tear stood in his bright blue eye.
But he still answered with a sigh,
Excelsior!
Beware the pine tree's withered branch, beware the awful avalanche.
This was the peasant's last good night.
A voice replied far up the height, Excelsior! At break of day, as heavenward, the pious monks of St. Bernard uttered the oft-repeated prayer. A voice cried through the startled air, Excelsior! A traveler by the faithful hound, half buried in the snow was found, still grasping in his hand of ice that banner with this strange device. Excelsior! There, in the twilight, cold and gray, lifeless but beautiful he lay, and from the sky, serene and far, a voice fell like a falling star. Excelsior! Great poet is the captivating Shel Silverstein. He developed his own quirky style, which is laid back, humorous, and often irreverent. One of the reasons children really love him is because he understands our feelings, like when we are angry, shameful, selfish, or just plain full of joy.
Buckle my shoe. Buckle your own shoe. Who said that? I did. What are you doing with those silly buckles on your shoe anyway? 3, 4, shut the door. You shut it. You opened it. 5, 6, pick up sticks.
Why should I pick them up? Do you think I'm your slave? Buckle my shoe, shut the door, pick up sticks. Next thing you'll be telling me to lay them straight.
But it's only just a poem. 9, 10, a big fat, oh, never mind.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my toys to break, so none of the other kids can use them. Amen.
My beard grows down to my toes. I never wears no clothes. I wraps my hair around my bear, and down the road I go.
My dad gave me a $1 bill because I'm the smartest son.
And I swapped it for 2 shiny quarters.
And 2 is more than 1!
And then I took the quarters and traded them to Lou
for 3 dimes. I guess you don't know
that 3 is more than 2!
Just then, along came old blind Bates, and just because he can't see,
he gave me 4 nickels for my 3 dimes.
And 4 is more than 3!
I took the nickels to Hiram Coombs down at the seed feed store.
And that fool gave me 5 pennies for them. And 5 is more than 4. And then I went and showed my dad, and he got all red in the cheeks, and closed his eyes and shook his head, too proud of me to speak. Who can kick a football from here out to Afghanistan? I can! Who fought tigers in the street while all the policemen ran and hid? I did! Who will fly and have x-ray eyes?
And be known as a man no bullet can kill.
I will! Who can sit and tell lies all night? I might. Tusk. Tusk. The walrus got braces, and that's why his face is a tangle of wires and steel. He'll sit and he'll wait till his teeth are both straight. Then think how happy he'll feel. But meanwhile, they're ruining his meal.
Take an eel, make a loop. Use him as a hula hoop. Feel him twist and twirl and spin down your ankles, round your chin.
Tighter, tighter, tighter yet. Ain't an eel a lovely pet?
Hey, answer when I talk to you. Don't just stand there turning blue. You may leave the clam on the ocean's floor.
It's all the same to the
clam.
For 100,000 years or more.
It's all the same to the clam.
You may bury him deep in mud and muck, or carry him round to bring you luck,
Or use him for a hockey puck.
It's all the same to the clam.
You may call him Jim or Frank or Nell.
It's all the same to the clam.
Or make a teacup from his shell.
It's all the same to the clam.
You may take him riding on a train.
Or leave him sitting in the rain.
you'll never hear the clam complain.
It's all the same to the clam.
Yes, the world may stop or the world may spin.
It's all the same to the clam.
And the sky may come a-falling in.
It's all the same to the clam.
And man may sing his endless songs of wronging rights and righting wrongs.
The clam just sets and gets along.
It's all the same to the clam.
One sister for sale, one sister for sale, one crying and spying young sister for sale. I'm really not kidding, so who'll start the bidding?
Do I hear $1, a nickel, a penny?
Oh, isn't there any one kid who will buy this old sister for sale? This crying and spying young sister for sale? No thanks.
Standing is stupid.
Crawling's a curse. Skipping is silly. Walking is worse.
Hopping is hopeless.
Jumping's a chore. Sitting is senseless. Cleaning's a bore.
Running's ridiculous.
Jogging's insane.
Guess I'll go upstairs and lie down again.
Boil and hiss. Writhe and twist. My hairdo won't get done.
'Cause one hair's hissing ponytail.
And one yells simple bun.
One whispers cornrows.
One screams bangs. One shouts just wash and dry it. One snaps no curl and tie it.
One hollers bleach and dye it.
And how am I to fix my hair if my hair will not keep quiet?
Clarence Lee from Tennessee loved the commercials he saw on TV. He watched with wide, believing eyes and bought everything they advertised.
Cream to make his skin feel better.
Spray to make his hair look whiter.
Bleach to make his white things whiter.
Stylish jeans that fit much tighter.
Toothpaste for his cavities.
Powder for his doggy's fleas. Purple mouthwash for his breasts.
Deodorant for his what?
He bought every cereal they presented.
Bought each game that they invented. Then one day he looked and saw
A brand new mop! New, improved in every way!
Hurry! Order yours today!
So, of course, our little Clarence
Sent off for 2 brand new parents.
The new ones came in the morning mail.
The old ones he sold at a garage sale.
And now they all are doing fine.
His new folks treat him sweet and kind.
His old ones work at an old coal mine.
So if you mind, Paul mean,
And make you eat your lima beans.
And make you wash and make you wait.
And never let you stay up late.
and scream and scold and preach and pout.
That simply means they're wearing out!
So send off for 2 brand new parents.
And you'll be as happy as little Clarence!
People keep saying it's not good to learn things by heart, but pretty things well said. It's nice to have them in your head.
That is a quote by Robert Frost. Many of his poems begin in delight and end in wisdom. In his lifespan between 1874 to 1966, he won 4 Pulitzer Prizes and became our country's most beloved poet.
He wrote about feelings words that everyone understood. He wanted to make you hear a real voice behind every line.
One of his more famous poems is The Pasture. In it, he invites us to the rich green pastures of poetry.
I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear. I shan't be gone long. You come too.
I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long. You come too.
And pay attention to all the images that Robert Frost uses in order to help us see his message.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year.
He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake.
The woods are lovely, dark and deep,
but I have promises to keep,
and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
The wee crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood, and saved some part of the day I had rued.
As I went out, a crow in a low voice said, "Oh, I was looking for you. How do you do? I just wanted to tell Leslie, will you, that her little bluebird wanted me to bring word that the north wind last night, that made the stars bright and made ice on the trough, almost made him cough his tail feathers off. He just had to fly, but he sent his goodbye and said to be good and wear her red hood and look for skunk tracks in the snow with an axe and do everything. And perhaps in the spring he would come back and sing."
I have wished a bird would fly away, and I sing by my house all day. Have clapped my hands at him from the door, when it seemed as if I could bear no more. The fault must have been partly in me. The bird was not to blame for his key, and of course there must be something wrong in wanting to silence any song.
I often see flowers from a passing car that are gone before I can tell what they are. I want to get out and go back to the track.
See what they were beside the track.
I name all the flowers, I'm sure they weren't. Not firewood loving these woods have burned.
Not bluebells grazing a tunnel now, not lupine living on sand and drought.
Was something that brushed across my mind that no one on earth will ever find.
Heaven gives it glimpse only to those not in position to look too close.
Tree at my window, window tree. My sash is lowered when night comes on.
But let there never be curtain drawn between you and me.
Vague dream head lifted out of the ground.
And thing next most diffused to cloud.
Not all your light tongues talking aloud could be profound. But tree, I have seen you taken and tossed.
And you have seen me when I slept.
You have seen me when I was taken and swept. And all but lost.
That
day she put our heads together Fate had her imagination about her.
Your head so much concerned with outer,
Mine with inner weather.
Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice.
When I go up through the mowing field, the headless aftermath,
smooth laid like thatch with the heavy dew, half closes the garden path.
When I come to the garden ground, the whir of sober birds,
up from the tangle of withered weeds, is sadder than any word.
A tree beside the wall stands bare, but a leaf that lingered brown,
disturbed by my thought, I doubt not, comes softly rattling down.
I end not far from my going forth by picking the faded blue
of the last remaining ester flower to carry again to you. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves of flower will only sow an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay.
When a friend calls to me from the road and slows his horse to a meaning walk, I don't stand still and look around on all the hills I haven't hoed and shout from where I am, what is it? No, not as there is a time to talk. I thrust my hoe in the mellow ground, blade and up and 5 feet tall, and plod up to the stone wall for a friendly visit.
Here come real stars to fill the upper skies, and here on earth come emulating flies, that though they never equal stars in size, and they were never really stars at heart, achieve at times a very star-like start. Only, of course, they can't sustain the part.
Now close all the windows and hush all the fields. If the trees must, let them silently toss. Now there is no bird singing, and if there is, let it be my loss. It will be long ere before marshes resume. It will be long ere the first bird. Now close the windows and not see the wind, but hear the wings stirring.
Rain, O loud southwester, bring the singer, bring the nester.
Give the buried flower a dream, make the settled snowbank steam.
Find the brown beneath the white, but whate'er you do tonight, bathe my window, let it flow, melt it as the ice will go.
Melt the glass and leave the sticks, like a hermit's crucifix.
Burst into my narrow stall, swing the picture on the wall.
Run the rattling pages o'er, scatter poems on the floor, turn the poet out of doors.
People keep saying it's not good to learn things by heart, but
pretty things well said, it's nice to have them in your head.
You come to
The great Canadian poet Robert Service became famous during the 1897 Klondike Gold Rush. He was known as the Bard of Yukon, the people's poet.
His tales of rough men braving hardships are both comical and gripping. We hope you don't get too scared
of the Ballad of Sam McGee.
I'm Sam McGee.
I'm Sam McGee.
I'm Sam McGee.
Triple scary.
There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee.
Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows.
He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. Though he'd often say, in his homely way, that he'd sooner live in hell.
On Christmas Day, we were mushing our way over the...
Our first section is a collection of great and diverse poets.
Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes was one of the most important writers and thinkers of the Harlem Renaissance, which was the African-American artistic movement in the 1920s that celebrated black life and culture. Through his literary works, he promoted equality and condemned racism and injustice.
Rita Dove. Rita Dove is an American poet and essayist who, from 1935 to 1995, served as Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry to the Library of Congress. She was the first African American to have been appointed this position since it was created by an act of Congress in 1986.
Joy Harjo.
Joy Harjo is a member of the Muskogee Nation. She is the current Poet Laureate of the United States. When reading poetry, she claims that she starts not even with an image, but with a sound, which portrays the oral traditions of her culture.
Francisco S. Alarcón. Francisco S. Alarcón has won the yearly Pearl Belpré Award from the American Library Association for Best Children's Bilingual Book celebrating Latino culture. Among the awards for his adult books are the Chicano Literary Prize and the National Book Award.
Naomi Shihab Nye gives voice to her experience as an Arab American through poems about heritage and peace. To name just a few awards, she has won 4 Pushcart Prizes and is the current Poetry Foundation's Young People's Poet Laureate.
If you have many voices, and let them speak to one another in a friendly fashion. If you're not too proud to talk to yourself out loud.
If you will ask the questions, pressing against your forehead from the inside, you'll be okay.
How thin and sharp is the moon tonight? How thin and sharp and ghostly white is the slim curved crook of the moon tonight? Every island
Dreams, dreams, dreams.
of being
A continent,
A continent.
a continent.
Bring me all your dreams, you dreamer. Bring me all your heart melodies, that I may wrap them in a blue cloud cloth, away from the too rough fingers of the world.
The Negro speaks of rivers.
I've known rivers.
I've known rivers, ancient as the world, and older than the flow of human blood in human veins.
My soul has grown deep like the river.
I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young.
I built my hut near the Congo and lulled me to sleep.
I looked upon the Nile and raised pyramids above them.
I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset.
I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the river.
The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people.
The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people.
I too sing America.
I am the darker brother.
They send me to eat in the kitchen.
When company comes,
But I laugh and eat well and grow strong.
tomorrow.
I'll be at the table.
When company comes,
Nobody'll dare.
Say to me,
Eat in the kitchen.
then.
Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am
And be ashamed.
I too am America.
Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly.
Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field, frozen with snow.
What happens to a dream deferred?
Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun?
Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it sink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet?
Maybe it just sags like a heavy load.
Or does it explode? Mother to son.
Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. But all the time, I've been climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps, 'cause you find it's kinda hard. Don't you fall now. Her eyes are still going, honey. Eyes are still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Rosa.
How she sat there.
The time right inside the place, so wrong it was ready.
That trim name, with its dream of a bench to rest on, her sensible coat. Doing nothing was the doing.
The clean flame of her gaze, carved by a camera's flash.
How she stood up when they bent down to retrieve her purse. That courtesy.
We have tomorrow, bright before us like a flame. Yesterday, a night gone thing, a sundown name, and dawn today, broad arch above the road we came. I dream a world, where man, no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth, and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day.
A world I dream, where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free.
Where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy like a pearl attends the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream my world. believe in the sun.
In the tangles of human failures, of fear, greed, and forgetfulness, the sun gives me clarity.
When explorers first encountered my people, they called us heathens, sun worshippers.
They didn't understand that the sun is a relative and illuminates our path on this earth.
After dancing all night in a circle, we realized that we are part of a larger sense of star and planets, dancing with us overhead.
When the sun rises at the apex of the ceremony, we are renewed.
There's no mistaking this connection. Though Walmart might be just down the road,
Humans are vulnerable and rely on the kindnesses of the earth and sun. We exist together in a sacred field of meaning.
From the belly button of the moon.
Cuando digo Mexico,
whenever I say Mexico,
Oiga a mi abuela hablándome.
I hear my grandma telling me
De los aztecas y de la ciudad que fundaron.
About the Aztecs and the city they built.
En una isla en medio de un lago.
On an island in the middle of a lake.
Mexico, me dice mi abuela.
Mexico, says my grandma,
Significa del ombligo de la luna.
means from the belly button of the moon.
No olvidas tu origen, mijo.
Don't forget your origin, son.
Quizás por eso mismo.
Maybe that's why.
Cuando ahora digo Mexico,
Whenever I now say Mexico,
Quiero tocarme el ombligo.
I feel like touching my belly button.
If you have many voices and let them speak to one another in a friendly fashion, if you're not too proud to talk to yourself out loud,
if you will ask the questions, pressing against your forehead from the inside, you'll be okay.
a way around.
Argument
is a room I won't enter.
Some of us would circle a whole house
Not to enter.
If you want to talk like that, try a tree.
A tree is patient. Don't try me.
The poetry ancestors scattered to all parts of the world.
Every family of trees, animals, winds, stones needs a poet.
My 100-year-old next-door neighbor told me
every day is a good day, if you have it.
I had to think about that a minute.
She said,
every day is a present someone left at your birthday place at the dinner.
It may not feel like that, but it's true.
Trust me, when you're my age, you'll know.
12 is a treasure.
And it's up to you to unwrap the package gently.
Lift out the gleaming hours wrapped in tissue.
Don't miss the bottom of the box.
In one house lives the sun, moon, and stars.
In that house is another house of sun, moon, and stars.
And then another. And another. There is no end to the imagination.
The first book. Open it. Go ahead. It won't bite.
Well, maybe a little.
More nip, like a tingle.
It's pleasurable, really.
You see, it keeps on opening.
You may fall in.
Sure, it's hard to get started.
Remember learning to use
Knife and fork, dig in.
You'll never reach bottom.
It's not like it's the end of the world.
Just the world as you think
You know it.
Valentine for earnest man. You can't order a poem like you order a taco.
Walk up to the counter, say I'll take two, and expect it to be handed back to you on a shiny plate.
Still, I like your spirit.
Anyone who says Here's my address. Write me a poem. Deserve something in reply. So I'll tell you a secret instead. Poems hide.
In the bottoms of our shoes, they are sleeping.
They are the shadows drifting across our ceiling the moment before we wake up.
What we have to do is live in a way that lets us find them.
Once I knew a man who gave his wife 2 skunks for a Valentine.
He couldn't understand why she was crying.
I thought they had such beautiful eyes.
And he was serious. He was a serious man who lived in a serious way. Nothing was ugly just because the world said so.
He really liked those skunks.
So he reinvented them into Valentine, and they became beautiful.
At least to him.
And the poems that had been hiding in the eyes of skunks for centuries crawled out and curled up at his feet. Maybe if we reinvent whatever our lives give us, we find poems. Check your garage.
The off sock in your drawer.
The person you almost like, but not quite. And let me know.
We can find poems anywhere?
Yes.
Even a skunk?
Yes.
Can you write a poem about a flea?
Yes. And a fly and a bee.
Make up your mind. Show me.
Okay.
Give us a minute.
Ready, go. A flea flew by a bee. The bee to flee, the flea flew by a fly. The fly flew high to flee the bee, who flew to flee the flea, who flew to flee the fly, who now flew by.
The bee flew by the fly. The fly
To flee the bee flew by the flea.
The flea flew high to flee the fly, who flew to flee the bee who flew.
To flee the flea who now flew by.
The fly flew by the flea. The flea to flee the fly flew by the bee.
The bee flew high to flee the flea.
Who flew to flee the fly who flew.
To flee the bee who now flew by.
The flea flew by the fly. The fly to flee the flea flew by the bee. The bee flew high to flee the fly who flew to flee the flea who flew to flee the bee who now flew by.
A fly flew by a bee. The bee to flee the fly flew by the flea. The flea flew high to flee the bee, who flew to flee the fly, who flew to flee the flea, who now flew by.
The bee flew by the flea. The flea to flee the bee flew by the fly.
The fly flew high to flee the flea who flew to flee the bee who flew to flee the fly who now flew by. Humph.
Humph.
Pretty poem, but it's a poem all right.
Mary Ann Hoverman, who wrote that amazing poem, was a children's poem laureate of the United States from 2008 to 2011. She has won many awards, including the National Book Award. Her poems are always focused on language and introducing the capacity of magic, emotional feeling, and puzzlement for the world's youngest poetry readers.
The folk who live in backward town are inside out and upside down. They wear their hats inside their heads and go to sleep beneath their beds. They only eat the apple peeling and take their walks across the ceiling.
Waiters. Dining with his older daughter, Dad forgot to order water. Daughter quickly called the waiter. Waiter said he'd bring it later. So she waited, did the daughter, till the waiter brought her water. When he poured it for her later, which one would you call the waiter?
Oh, gaze on the graceful gazelle as it grazes. It grazes on green growing leaves and on the grasses. On grasses it grazes. Go graze as it passes. It passes so gracefully, gently, oh gaze.
Click beetle. Click beetle, clack beetle, snap, jack, black beetle, glint, glitter, glare beetle, pin it in your hair beetle, tack it to your shawl beetle, wear it at the ball beetle, shine, shimmer, spark beetle, glisten in the dark beetle, listen to it crack beetle, click beetle, clack beetle. Think of a whale.
Then think of a snout.
Then think of a snail on the tail of a whale.
Then think of the tail of a whale with no snout.
A whale is so big.
A snail is so small.
There's hardly a difference at all
Between
a tail on a snail
and a snail with no tail.
The crocodile has a crooked smile.
The alligator's smile is straighter.
Or maybe it's the other way. With crocodiles, it's hard to say.
Perhaps the opposite is true. Sort of alligators, too.
But if I write what I just said, maybe the first way is right instead.
Then again, the second might as easily be wrong as right.
Or
right is wrong.
Likewise the first. In that case, should they be reversed? Or left alone?
Or should I switch? I can't remember which is which.
The crocodile has a crooked smile.
The alligator's smile is straighter.
A rabbit bit a little bit, an itty bitty little bit of beet.
Then bit by bit he bit, because he liked the taste of it.
But when he bit a wee bit more, it was more bitter than before.
This beet is bitter, Rabbit cried.
I feel a bit unwell inside. But when he bit another bite, that bit of beet seemed quite all right.
Besides, when all is said and done, better bitter beet than none.
The ocelot is a clever cat. She knows a lot of this and that. She grows a lot of spotted fur, which looks extremely well on her. In places where it snows a lot, she seldom ever goes a lot. She much prefers it where it's hot. That's all about the ocelot.
The raucous auk must squawk to talk. The squawk, ox squawk to talk goes on.
A panda planned a visit, but they told him not to come. He was going to Uganda, where of course he isn't from. Everybody knows that the panda comes from China, not Uganda, and a panda in Uganda would cause pandemonium.
I had a little brother, and I brought him to my mother, and I said I want another little brother for a change.
But she said, don't be a bother. So I took him to my father, and I said, this little bother of a brother's very strange.
But he said every little brother is exactly like another, and every little brother misbehaves a bit, he said.
So I took the little bother from my mother and my father, and put the little bother of a brother back to bed.
Yellow butter, purple jelly, red jam, black bread. Spread it thick, say it quick. Yellow butter, purple jelly, red jam, black bread. Spread it thicker, say it quicker. Yellow butter, purple jelly, red jam, black bread. Now repeat it while you eat it. Yellow butter, purple jelly, red jam, black bread. Don't talk with your mouth full.
If you have many voices and you let them speak to one another in a friendly fashion, if you're not too proud to talk to yourself out loud,
if you will ask the questions, pressing against your forehead from the inside,
you'll be okay.